Crime Prevention in Country Woods, Break-and-Enters.
By Chelsea,
Jessica.
Christine,
Simmer,
and Ashvin.
this crime prevention analysis project has focused in on the residential neighborhood of Country Woods located in South Surrey. The crime of break-and-enters will be explored in relation to the properties located within the approximate boundaries of 26th to 28th Avenue and 171 to 174th Street. The area consists of relatively large homes on 1-acre lots. The majority of the homes are sheltered by trees and back onto a greenbelt that has a variety of trail systems within it that lead to different streets and neighborhoods altogether. The lines in red visible on the image represent the approximate locations of the pathways within the trail system. The Countrywood neighborhood has been subject to a number of break-and-enters in recent years. Breaking and entering with intent, committing offense, or breaking out is a criminal offense and is described in Section 348 of the Criminal Code as everyone who breaks and enters a place with intent to commit an indictable offense therein, breaks and enters a place and commits an indictable offense therein, breaks out of a place after committing an indictable offense therein, or enters a place with the intent to commit an indictable offense therein. Someone who breaks and enters is guilty if the offense is committed in relation to a dwelling house of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for life, and if the offense is committed in relation to a place other than a dwelling house of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years, or of an offense punishable on summary conviction. Break-and-enters are a significant problem for residents of the Country Woods neighborhood for a variety of reasons. The loss or damage of their personal property is among the most prominent of issues. Residents who fall victim to the crime of breaking and entering not only lose personal belongings, but their property is usually damaged in the process. For instance, an offender could smash a car window in order to enter a locked vehicle, or damage a house door while forcing entry.
The reason why this location would be a suitable target for break-and-enters is because of the criteria outlining what elements must be in place for crime to occur and the 10 principles of opportunity in crime. In order for a crime to take place, there must be a suitable target, a motivated offender, and an absence of guardians. Being a potential risk of a target corresponds to Clark's 1999 discussion of hot products, which is craved. The definition of craved is concealable, removable, available, valuable, enjoyable, and disposable. Concealable is the ability of a thief to hide items during the crime. Removable, size and weight makes some items more portable than others. Available is the item must exist and be available to be stolen. Valuable is items that hold more value will be targeted. Enjoyable is the items must bring enjoyment to the offender, and disposable is there must be a market for the stolen items.
The rational choice theory suggests that offenders make rational choices about where and when to commit crime. Research has shown that offenders take into consideration a variety of factors, such as planning the offense, the amount of cover available, the level of illumination, types of locks, doors and windows, the presence of alarms, and the possibility of being observed. Everything is based upon an offender's judgment, causing them to justify their reasoning of why they should commit that crime. In this theory, offenders reflect upon the benefit to themselves and what they may be rewarded with when choosing to commit that crime. The rational choice theory believes that offenders make choices that are founded on prior experiences and knowledge. Offenders are considered to be rational decision makers within the bounds of this theory. Offenders are believed to base many of their actions on the costs and benefits they expect as a result of their crime. Research also suggests that offenders do not always approach situations with detailed plans, but can make quick decisions that are still considered to be rational.
The rational choice theory ties in with the problem of breaking and entering because offenders have a choice of when and where to commit crimes, and Country Woods is a neighborhood that can be an easy target for offenders who may break and enter. Behind the houses in this neighborhood is a trail where anyone can walk through and easily break and enter into these expensive houses because the houses are not protected with proper fencing. This area is an appropriate target for offenders because anyone walking through these trails can easily access the backyards of these homes. Therefore, offenders have a choice when it comes to choosing this neighborhood because it can be easily accessible. According to the rational choice theory, when offenders choose an appropriate area to break and enter, they look at various factors, such as the level of illumination, the types of locks, doors, and fences, and the existence of alarms. In these trails in Country Woods, many of the houses do not have proper fences, locks, or doors, therefore making it easy for potential offenders to break and enter through the backyard. Also, there is no proper level of illumination in these trails, and many houses do not have alarm systems. Potential offenders can break and enter into these homes, and no one would know who the offender is or even witness them in person because of the lack of lighting and security in these trails.
There are a number of features that must be added or improved throughout the neighborhood of Country Woods in order to increase efforts to reduce and prevent break-and-enters. Country Woods residents currently have a select number of features already in place that contribute positively to crime prevention. This project aims to include the basics of those elements in specific response to break-and-enters and crime prevention on a broader scale. Overall, there is a sense of community and togetherness that stems from a block watch program that is already in place. Although the forum is online and more geared towards alerting residents of criminal activity in the neighborhood, rather than initiating crime prevention initiatives, the fact that the neighborhood has an email group in place definitely serves as a positive more so than a negative. However, this block watch program does have room for improvement. The first recommendation to improve the block watch program is to incorporate crime prevention tips into emails sent to residents. This project recognizes that the program is volunteer run and the residents running this form of communication also live busy lives. Therefore, we suggest that the preventative suggestions and/or reminders are sent out once every 4 months or when deemed applicable. The second recommendation to improve the current program would be to organize a block watch meeting once a year. By doing so, residents in the area will get to know their neighbors, which can improve community dynamic, program participation, and the likelihood that possible offenders will more easily be identified when scouting the neighborhood or actually breaking and entering into somebody's property. In regards to the properties, there are a number of them that have relatively good surveillability. For the most part, backyards are opened and don't have a ton of trees or bushes that would impact surveillance from house windows. That being said, beyond the backyard, there are significant surveillability problems as the greenbelt limits most, if not all, ability to see beyond the border of one's backyard. This can be problematic from a crime prevention perspective for a number of reasons. Firstly, it provides offenders with a fast and effective escape route. If an offender commits a B&E, then proceeds to leave the property via the woods, it will be very difficult for the homeowner and police to know where the offender fled to and in which direction. The greenbelt is relatively dense, and following someone through there would be difficult, especially in the dark. The paths lead to a number of different neighborhoods, so knowing which one the offender would come out of is likely a guessing game. The other problem that arises is the difficulty a first responder would have situating themselves in the area. There are no definitive markers throughout the trail systems, which would make it challenging for a responding officer to find a particular area within the woods. From a scouting perspective, the trails can serve as a sheltered area which allows offenders to observe properties with a small likelihood of being noticed. Standing in the trails and looking onto a property, it is not hard to have a clear line of vision to the whole house. That being said, from a homeowner's view, from inside the property, the offenders are not likely to stand out or even be visible unless they are diligently looking which is not a realistic practice to continually be on guard. Due to the low traffic in the actual trail systems, combined with the contrast in visibility between houses and trail users, this aspect of properties could be improved in order to increase crime prevention initiatives. In response to these problems, our project suggests that residents thin out their bushes to the trail system. By doing so, they maintain their territoriality while improving their visibility to the trail system. In addition, we believe it would be beneficial to install markers at the entrance points of the trail systems to help locate the specific areas in cases of emergencies or crimes such as break-and-enters. The element of territoriality varies throughout the Country Woods neighborhood. For the most part, the properties are well defined by keeping their places maintained and not so much by using fences. From observations, the residents appear to be doing a good job at landscaping. This factor contributes to territoriality, as when the lawn is mowed and bushes are kept cut and neat, there becomes a clear distinction between private property and city bushes and pathways. Although the landscaping helps define a visible barrier between public and private properties, there are few actual barriers found, such as the form of fences. Without fences, offenders have little to no difficulty trespassing onto a property with the intention of committing a break-and-enter. Fences can be beneficial in deterring crime, preventing easy access, or at the very least adding another level of difficulty to an offender's plan. No fences generally, but not always, suggest that there are no dogs at that property. Dogs can also be a good crime prevention tool, and a fenced yard is usually a good indication as to whether that family has one or not. With no clear signs of dogs, and a house may become that much more vulnerable to offenders. The majority of Country Woods properties do not have fences and as a result appear relatively inviting. The presence of an alarm system can be a very good crime prevention tool. It is important to make the presence of your system known outside of your home, for without signage, a possible offender has no way of knowing whether or not there is a working system in the house. From afar, the Country Woods neighborhood does not have an overwhelming presence of alarm company signage throughout, with the exception of one property. This particular house has attached an ADT sign to their fencing that faces the trail system. This is a positive feature initiated by residents and could serve as an example for others in the surrounding area. The final aspect that was noticeably absent from the Country Woods neighborhood was lighting. Between streetlights, traffic lights, car lights, house lights, and outdoor lighting, there is currently a significant lack of light in this area. The geographic location of this neighborhood also contributes to the darkness, as it is surrounded by large trees and the houses are spread far apart. Little to no lighting creates an environment that can easily foster potential offenders and facilitate their criminal activity. Without lighting, it is difficult to notice an individual who is breaking and entering, as it would also be difficult to obtain a description of that individual. To improve the lighting in the neighborhood, we suggest that the residents install motion lights that cover the vulnerable areas of their homes, such as doors, large windows, garages, and so forth. Motion lights are ideal because they only are activated when motion triggers them, which means they should not drastically increase one's hydro bill. The lighting is temporary and shouldn't become an annoyance, as well as the lighting can be an indication that there is motion around the point, and that can trigger residents to look around for suspicious signs. On a larger scale, to be considered by the Residents Association or the city, are benefits of light posts. As the area is naturally very dark, it would be worth considering the installment of a few light poles throughout the trail systems and onto the streets. The cost of commercial light posts is too large for most residents to cover out of their personal pockets. The Residents Association or city, however, generally have access to larger funds that could be allocated for lighting if the value of the lighting is recognized. Considering other projects that may be conducted in the neighborhood at this time of the project being initiated, it may be deemed suitable to make that investment into a larger light post to illuminate the area and render it more visible. In regards to the cost analysis for the lighting aspect of our crime prevention program, motion lights average around $34.98. In terms of light poles,
extra charges may apply due to service connection callbacks, and that's an extra $368 plus GST. Depending on the height and the amps of the light pole, The price can range from $800 to $1,000 plus. For tree maintenance, there may be a permit that is required to be able to do maintenance within your own property. However, for trees that are on city property, those will have to be done by arborists or city workers and has to be done according to Surrey's bylaws. It can take up to 6 weeks to get a permit to be accepted. There is no cost for applying. There is a cost when the permit has been approved and for the permit to be issued. The tree cutting fee is $79 and then $31 per tree being removed, as well as $400 for tree security. Depending on the type of tree, the age, and the height, there may be different equipment or approaches that may be needed, and so that may add to the cost of the job. For fencing, some other things that may affect the cost of fencing are permits that may be needed to put up a fence, utilities that may run underground that might need to be moved, the cost of labor that will be required for the installation of the fence, land that may be uneven will need to be treated so that the installation of the fence is not uneven. Fence post lights is an additional cost that can range from $24.99 to $59.99, but provides lighting and clear view around the property. Home security can range in price depending on the provider that you are using and what the plan includes, and each will depend on what you are receiving.
Garrett defined crime displacement in his 2009 study as the relocation of crime from one place, time, target, offense, or tactic to another as a result of some crime prevention initiatives. Repetto, in 1976, identified 5 types of possible displacements that can occur. The first one on his list was territorial displacement. Territorial displacement refers to the movement of crime from one area to another. This form of displacement is expected to occur when Country Woods neighborhood initiates the recommended crime prevention initiatives. As a result of the neighborhood becoming more engaged with crime prevention techniques, we expect that territorial displacement may occur and the crime of breaking and entering will move to a different area of the city, most likely one that does not participate in crime prevention strategies to the same extent as the residents of Country Woods. Target displacement is another form of displacement identified by Garrett. Target displacement is defined as choosing a different victim within the same area. This form of displacement could become relevant within the bounds of the Country Woods neighborhood crime prevention program in the event that certain residents don't participate in the program. In this case, those residents would become more vulnerable to cases of target displacement, as while the majority of neighborhood improves the crime prevention initiatives, the number of easy targets decreases. The ones who choose not to make changes become larger targets and ultimately run a higher chance of becoming victims of breaking and entering. The house with the green check mark has a secure lock, making it safe. The house without the added lock is not safe. Although the offender previously committed crime at the house on the left, he is now changing his target to the less safe house on the right, as it is more vulnerable in comparison. To evaluate the effectiveness of the crime prevention initiatives, we will measure the change in resident perceptions of fear by conducting a survey. We will evaluate perceptions of fear before the changes have been implemented and compare those results to after the changes have been made. For the survey, we are planning on going door to door to distribute the survey to residents. We will do a survey after 3 months of implementation, again after 6 months, and a year after that to establish the changes in perceptions of fear among residents. We expect that the overall level of fear will gradually decrease as crime prevention initiatives are implemented and maintained. The time frame was chosen in order to allow these changes to establish themselves within the community. If results show a decrease in perceptions of fear within this specific area, this may suggest that the community feels safer due to the implemented changes. We will also look at block watch in the community. We will record block watch participation in terms of the number of members both pre and post program implementation. The number of block watch members can serve as an indication to the number of residents participating in the crime prevention program. If there becomes an increase in participation in the community block watch program after the crime prevention program is implemented, this could indicate that the program has been effective in engaging community members and preventing break-and-enters. The Country Woods neighborhood has been an easy target for the crime of breaking and entering. However, if the elements of this crime prevention project are taken into consideration and initiated throughout the community, It is possible that the residents of Country Woods may experience a decrease in crime, specifically the crime of breaking and entering. Rational choice theory suggests that offenders will make a rational decision on where and when to commit crime. Having these changes put into place at the community level, offenders may reconsider their decisions to target the Country Woods area.